Most people don't wake up in the morning thinking, I'm going to avoid conflict today. And yet, so many of us do it without even realizing. Maybe you've seen someone like this in your life. Or maybe it's even you. The person who bites their tongue instead of speaking up, who forces a smile even when something hurts, who changes the topic the moment the air gets a little heavy. On the outside, it looks peaceful, mature, calm. But inside, there's a whole world of emotion and psychology quietly shaping that behavior. And before we go deeper, don't forget to subscribe. Seriously, stay with me to the end, because this topic opens the door to understanding so much about ourselves. Hit that button so you never miss videos like this that dig into the human mind and help you grow. Now back to the real story. Conflict avoidance isn't just a nice personality trait. It's a coping mechanism, one that's built from experiences, fears, and the deep human need to feel safe. When someone avoids conflict, it's not because they're weak. It's because something in them learned that staying quiet is safer than being honest. But that safety comes with a price. Swallowed emotions, strained relationships, and truths that stay trapped inside for years. A lot of this starts early in life. Imagine a child growing up in a home where raising your voice meant trouble, where disagreement brought yelling, punishment, or emotional withdrawal. That child learns fast. Silence equals safety. And when you practice that silence long enough, it follows you into adulthood. Even a small disagreement can make your heart race. Your mind freezes. Your body goes into danger mode. It's not logical. It's survival. It's the amygdala, the brain's fear center, doing what it learned to do. And hey, before we continue, if you're finding this relatable, make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss the rest of this breakdown because, by the end, you'll understand conflict avoidance in a whole new way. Now let's talk about identity. Many conflict-avoidant people genuinely see themselves as the peacemaker, the calm one, the kind one, the understanding one. And that's beautiful. But inside, there's often a quiet fear of being disliked or disappointing people. They worry that speaking their truth will upset someone, that standing up for themselves will push others away. So they keep choosing silence, not because they want to hide, but because they want to be loved. But the sad irony? Avoiding conflict to protect relationships often damages them instead. All those unspoken feelings start leaking out through passive-aggressive comments, emotional distance, or burnout from always being the one who bends. And then there's culture. Some families and societies teach that confrontation is rude and harmony is everything. People are praised for being calm, polite, and agreeable, even if it means sacrificing their honesty. But the truth is, peace isn't the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of honesty. Without honesty, relationships become fragile, polite on the surface, but emotionally hollow underneath. So when we look deeper, conflict avoidance isn't about running away. It's about trying to stay safe in the only way that person knows. It's a pattern, a shield, a learned behavior meant to protect the heart. But growth begins when we recognize that healthy conflict isn't a threat. It's an opportunity. It opens doors to deeper understanding, stronger bonds, and real peace. And if you want to keep learning about the psychology behind how we think, react, love, and protect ourselves, hit that subscribe button right now. Stay with me to the end, because the more you understand your mind, the more power you gain over your life. Let's keep going. Have you ever been in one of those moments where you wanted to speak, but the words just wouldn't come out? Maybe someone said something that hurt you. Maybe you disagreed with a friend, a coworker, or even someone in your own family. And instead of saying how you felt, you smiled, nodded, and whispered to yourself, it's not worth it. We've all been there, that split second where your heart says, say something, but your mind whispers, don't make it worse. And honestly, who wouldn't want to avoid an argument? Staying silent feels easier. But have you ever stopped to wonder, why? Why is it so hard for some people to speak up, even when they know they're right? And hey, before we go deeper, make sure you subscribe and stay with me until the end. This topic might reveal something about you, your relationships, and the patterns you've carried for years. Trust me, you want to hear all of it. The truth is, conflict avoidance isn't just about keeping the peace. Most of the time, it's about protecting ourselves. Deep down, many of us are afraid of rejection, judgment, or emotional chaos. We seek harmony not because we're weak, but because somewhere in our past, we learned that conflict equals pain. Maybe you grew up in a home where raising your voice meant danger. Maybe someone told you that good people don't argue. So you built this calm, quiet shell around yourself, convincing others, and maybe even yourself, that silence is strength. But that kind of silence comes with a hidden cost. When you avoid conflict for too long, you start to lose your own voice. You say yes when you want to say no. You apologize when you've done nothing wrong. You shrink yourself just to make other people comfortable. On the outside, it looks peaceful, but inside, there's a storm, unspoken thoughts, bottled up emotions, a constant feeling that something is unfinished. And eventually, that storm turns into resentment or frustration. You start asking yourself, why can't I speak up? Why do I always give in? Why do I disappear the moment things get uncomfortable? And before we continue, if this is hitting a little too close to home, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this breakdown. You're not alone, and understanding this part of yourself can change everything. Here's the part many people don't realize. Conflict is not the enemy. Healthy conflict doesn't destroy relationships. It strengthens them. It creates clarity. It builds respect. It helps you show up as your real self instead of the version of you that's always trying to be easy or non-confrontational. Growth doesn't happen in silence. It happens in honesty. So today, let's unpack the psychology behind why so many people avoid conflict, and how understanding it can help you build stronger, more authentic connections, not just with others, but with yourself. Now let's go deeper. Have you ever seen someone who will do almost anything to keep the peace? They'll smile even when they're hurt, agree even when they disagree. They'll stay quiet, not because they don't feel anything, but because expressing it feels risky. Their chest tightens, their heart races, and their mind immediately searches for a way out. Avoiding conflict feels safer, like slipping into emotional hiding mode. But here's what's really happening. Conflict avoidance rarely comes from laziness or indifference. It's rooted in emotional history. Many conflict-avoidant people grew up in homes where arguments were explosive, loud, unpredictable, or followed by punishment. Their young brains learned that speaking up leads to danger. So even as adults, when tension rises, their body reacts as if they're still that frightened child. It's not weakness, it's survival. Others avoid conflict because of identity. They see themselves as the nice one, the peacekeeper, the calm personality in the room. They take pride in never causing drama. But beneath that calm identity is a fear of rejection. They worry that speaking up will make them seem rude, selfish, or difficult. So they bury their feelings, even when those feelings are screaming for space. And then there's culture. Many families and societies teach that disagreement is disrespectful, that speaking your truth is somehow rude. So people learn to swallow their emotions for the sake of harmony. But harmony without honesty isn't harmony. It's quiet tension. And that tension eventually shows up as passive-aggressive comments, emotional distance, or sudden outbursts that seem to come out of nowhere. The fascinating thing is that people who avoid conflict are often incredibly empathetic. They don't want to hurt anyone. They don't want to create discomfort. They want everyone to feel okay. But in trying so hard to protect others from pain, they often neglect their own. The ultimate truth? Real peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict. It comes from facing it with honesty, compassion, and courage. When someone avoids conflict, it's not because they don't care. It's because they're still learning that their voice matters, even if it trembles when it comes out. If you found this eye-opening, make sure you subscribe right now. There's so much more ahead, and you don't want to miss what comes next. Some people walk through life carrying a weight no one else can see. The quiet pressure to keep everything calm, smooth, and under control. They do everything they can to avoid upsetting anyone. They nod even when they want to disagree. They smile even when something hurts. They gently change the subject the moment a conversation starts to get tense. To the outside world, they look kind, patient, understanding, maybe even effortlessly peaceful. But what people don't see is the silent battle happening inside. They want to speak up, they want to stand their ground, but the fear of conflict feels louder than their own voice. And that fear doesn't just appear randomly. It's shaped by experiences, emotions, and the ways we learned to survive in relationships long before we understood what conflict really meant. Before we go deeper, make sure you hit subscribe if you love deep, meaningful topics like this. Stay with me till the end. This might help you understand yourself or someone you care about in a completely new way. For many people, conflict avoidance begins with fear, not fear of anger itself, but fear of what happens after the anger. They worry that disagreement will bring rejection, guilt, or emotional distance. Maybe they tried expressing themselves once, and it ended in yelling, someone walking out, or being made to feel wrong for having feelings at all. After moments like that, the brain makes a quiet, protective promise. Next time, stay silent. It's safer. Over time, that promise becomes a reflex. Instead of asking, what do I need? The mind jumps straight to, how do I keep the peace? As soon as tension rises, their shoulders stiffen, their heart speeds up, and they instinctively search for an escape, a joke, a distraction, or a quick apology just to make the discomfort disappear. They aren't avoiding the person. They're avoiding the emotional earthquake their body believes is coming. Others avoid conflict for a completely different reason. Empathy. Deep, overwhelming empathy. They feel the emotions in the room like they're absorbing them through their skin. The idea of upsetting someone even slightly feels unbearable, so they become the peacekeeper, the fixer, the person who smooths things over, even when the cost is their own comfort. They tell themselves, it's not worth it. It's a small thing. I don't want to hurt them. But while they're protecting others from discomfort, their own unspoken feelings pile up. Little moments of silence stack into emotional walls, pushing a quiet distance between them and the people they care about. And then there's the belief system. So many people grow up hearing things like, good people don't argue, don't talk back. Respect means staying quiet. In those families or cultures, confrontation is treated as disrespect, something to be avoided, not navigated. So they learn to confuse silence with peace. But real peace isn't quietness. Real peace is understanding. Two people pretending to be fine isn't harmony. It's emotional avoidance wrapped in politeness. Here's the truth. Avoiding conflict can make you feel safe in the moment, but it slowly chips away at your self-respect. Every time you swallow your feelings, you send yourself a message. My voice doesn't matter, but your voice does matter. And speaking up doesn't mean yelling. It doesn't mean fighting. It means honoring your feelings. It means choosing honesty over fear. It means allowing discomfort in the name of real connection. Healthy relationships aren't built on avoidance. They're built on courage. The courage to have honest conversations. The courage to listen without fear. The courage to believe that people who truly care about you won't walk away just because you spoke your truth. And if this speaks to you, if it feels familiar or eye-opening, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. Your support helps this channel keep growing and keeps us inspired to bring you thoughtful, meaningful content every week. So go ahead, subscribe now, and let's dive deeper into today's topic together. There's a quiet kind of strength in people who avoid conflict. They're the ones who soften tense moments with a smile, who gently steer conversations away when voices start to rise, and who always seem to know exactly what to say to keep the peace. On the surface, they look calm, steady, and collected. But what most people never see is the emotional storm happening underneath. The heart that beats a little faster during conflict. The mind that races with thoughts they never say out loud. Conflict avoiders aren't weak. In fact, they often feel everything more intensely than others. Their avoidance isn't a sign of not caring. It's a sign of caring too much. They care about people's feelings. They care about harmony. They care about not hurting anyone. But in trying so hard to protect others from discomfort, they slowly forget to protect themselves. For many, this pattern doesn't start in adulthood. It begins in childhood. Maybe they grew up in a home where arguments ended in days of silence. Maybe a single raised voice made the whole house feel unsafe. Maybe expressing a different opinion was treated like rebellion rather than conversation. So they learned quickly. Speaking up leads to conflict, and conflict leads to pain. Silence became their shield. Staying quiet felt safer than being honest. And even years later, as adults, their nervous system still follows that same old rule: don't upset anyone, and everything will stay okay. That's the thing about emotional memory. The body never forgets what the heart once feared. So when tension appears, they don't choose avoidance. Their body chooses it for them. Their voice softens, their jaw tightens, their mind freezes, and they instinctively look for the easiest escape. It's not about avoiding the person. It's about avoiding the emotional danger their brain believes is waiting around the corner. Others avoid conflict because of identity. The story they tell themselves about who they are. I'm easygoing. I'm understanding. I don't like drama. It sounds admirable, and often it is. But that identity sometimes hides a deeper fear. The fear of being disliked, judged, or seen differently. Many conflict-avoidant people believe that if they express their true feelings, they'll disappoint someone, or someone will pull away, or someone will think they're difficult. So they choose silence over honesty, peace over truth, approval over authenticity. But the peace they create comes with a cost. Every time they swallow their feelings, they bury a small part of themselves. Day after day, year after year, those unspoken thoughts pile up until they start to feel invisible in their own life. They say it's fine, but inside there's a quiet ache, a longing to be understood, to be heard, to be seen without having to hide behind calmness. And sometimes all that bottled emotion spills over. It shows up in sudden tears, unexpected anger, moments of exhaustion that feel like they came out of nowhere. That's the mind saying, I can't keep pretending everything's okay. The psychology behind conflict avoidance is powerful because it reveals something universal. Humans crave safety, emotional, mental, relational safety. Avoiding conflict is one of the many ways people try to protect themselves. But real safety doesn't come from silence. Real safety comes from trust. Trust that your voice matters. Trust that connection won't disappear when you speak your truth. Trust that honesty, when delivered with compassion, brings people closer, not further apart. Learning to face conflict doesn't mean starting arguments. It means showing up honestly. It means choosing truth over fear. It means understanding that sometimes the most peaceful thing you can do is finally speak the words you've been holding in for far too long. If you'd like, I can now add a smooth YouTube-style subscribe section, a hooky intro, or transitions to make this part of a longer script. Some people are natural peacemakers. They walk into a tense room and, without even trying, everything softens. A gentle smile, a calm voice, a small joke, and suddenly the air feels lighter. They avoid arguments, stay steady when others lose their temper, and seem to carry an invisible shield that protects them from chaos. To everyone else, they look patient, strong, and in control. But behind that calm surface is often a quiet struggle, a deep fear of conflict shaped by years of experiences, emotions, and the simple desire to feel safe. Conflict avoiders aren't weak. They're protecting themselves in the only way they learned how. For many, this fear of conflict starts with one belief: conflict equals danger. Maybe they grew up in homes where arguments ended with slammed doors, hurt feelings, or long, painful silences. Maybe they learned that speaking up led to punishment, rejection, or guilt. Over time, the mind creates a powerful link. Confrontation equals pain. So, as adults, even a small disagreement can make their heart race, their stomach tighten, and their mind whisper, stay quiet. Don't upset anyone. Staying silent feels like peace, but it's really just a temporary escape, a momentary breath before the anxiety returns. Others avoid conflict because they love deeply. They don't want to hurt anyone, lose relationships, or be misunderstood. They tell themselves, if I stay quiet, things will sort themselves out. But silence rarely fixes anything. The unspoken thoughts start to pile up. They forgive too quickly, overlook too much, and pretend they're fine. Slowly, a quiet sadness grows, a feeling of being unseen, unheard, or taken for granted. The peace they work so hard to create eventually turns into a kind of loneliness. Some conflict avoiders carry the pressure of always being good. They want to be kind, agreeable, and easy to be around. They fear that showing anger or disappointment will make them look selfish or ungrateful. So they become experts at holding everything inside. They smooth things over, even when they are hurting. But living like this becomes exhausting, because real connection can't grow where honesty is missing. Avoiding conflict is really about emotional safety, But the cost is often authenticity. When you silence your feelings for too long, you start to lose pieces of yourself. You doubt your needs, your worth, and even your own voice. The turning point comes when you realize that conflict isn't destruction. It's communication. It's the doorway to understanding, growth, and healthier relationships. Facing conflict doesn't mean yelling or arguing. It means listening, expressing, and trusting that the relationship is strong enough to hold the truth. Real peace is not found in silence. It's found in courage. Courage to speak, even when your voice shakes. So as we've explored, the psychology behind conflict avoidance runs deep. It's about fear, old wounds, empathy, the need for acceptance, and the effort to balance truth with harmony. Avoidance isn't weakness. It's a survival strategy. But long-term peace comes from honest, respectful communication. Every person deserves to be heard, and every relationship becomes stronger when silence is replaced by understanding. And before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Your support helps us continue creating videos that explore the human mind, emotions, and relationships in a way that's meaningful and relatable. Stay with us, keep learning with us, and let's continue this journey of understanding ourselves and others, one conversation at a time.